welcome back to the Tales of Agmar podcast if you've been here before. If not, welcome for your first time. First off, before we get going, I do need to rectify the fact that I forgot to announce last week what was going to happen on today's episode, so please forgive me for that. That one's on me. I got a little too excited about what I've been working on, so I hope you guys enjoy today's episode, and we'll talk about that in a bit. For those who don't know, Tales of Agmar is a podcast about the lore of the Tales of Agmar universe, and me, Sinjin, is the host as well as the writer of this world, and I've been building it since late 2020. And we drop new episodes now every Monday at 7 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. So, fantastic time there. Now, next we got a huge milestone for me, as well as for the cast as a whole. We are going to finally start seeing the world that's been living in my head begin to take shape on paper. Well, more so in a digital format for the rest of y'all. But if you've been on any of our socials, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, you've probably seen it. If not, I highly recommend you go check it out. But we finally have our first concept art for Tales of Agmar, and it's for Kandra. So that's what makes today's episode kind of special too, is we're going to be talking more about Kandra. And this concept art, real quick though, is just going to serve as the foundation for all of our future visual designs, so please go check it out. It's going to be fantastic. We're going to get a lot more visuals out there for the book as a whole and just for the entire universe. And yeah, before we begin though, I do have one more thing. So starting this week, kind of talk about, what's going to happen with today's episode. We're introducing a prequel storyline for several of the key characters in the Tales of Agmar book series. So these are going to be kind of shorter narrative pieces. They might be done in trilogies. Some of them might just be standalones. I'll announce whose story we're on each week, and I'll kind of let you know if there's more story at the end of each episode. Spoiler for today's episode, there is though. We will be continuing Kandra's little blurb here this week, next week, and probably into the week after. So it'll be like a little trilogy. But yeah. And hopefully this gets you all excited for the full book release, as well as the upcoming beta readings, which, while still in the works, both the full book and the beta readings, we are starting to get kind of close, okay? I'm a little bit farther in the book now, and so I felt comfortable enough to get somebody to start looking at the beginning of the book. Well, a couple of somebodies, but people just look at the beginning of the book, right, and kind of give it a brief read through, help me work out some grammar and some pacing issues. And then once I finish it up and then do my own read through, which shouldn't take that long, then we'll be able to select a couple chapters for y'all and get out some beta readings. So if there's any online platforms that you like reading on, please comment them down below. And if there's anything else you like in this episode today, please comment it down below. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into Kandra's origin story. Kandra stood at the castle gates beside her mother, Queen Vel of House Dralin. Together, they waited for the return of the king, her father, who had gone to war against the theocracy in the distant colonies. He'd been gone for 6 months, fighting to drive back the invaders and protect their people over there. Every day since he left with his men, Kandra had waited here, at this spot, watching the road beyond the gates. She searched for the bannered messenger who would one day bring news of his return. And this morning, way before the sun had fully risen, her mother had shaken her awake, breathless with urgency. The rider had been spotted. Now they stood together in the frigid breeze as the messenger passed through all 7 gates of the central keep. His horse followed the path as it sharply cut left, and after a few yards right, and then left again. He carried on for a few more yards, then turned right again. As he continued along this path, his horse zigged and zagged, slowing down. He was taking longer than usual. Kandra shivered as her mother wrapped a soft woolen blanket around them both, trying to hold on to whatever warmth the dragons had blessed them with that morning. As the rider cleared the final gate, he looked up. His face was worn. Scars crossed his skin, etched there by years of service to the royal family. Kandra searched his eyes, looking for the familiar light that usually lived behind them. She did not find it this morning. Instead, she saw an inky dimness and a tear. "Capra," she called, her voice bright and hopeful. "When will Father be joining us?" Capra's gaze shifted, away from her, to her mother, and then down to the ground. He stayed that way as his horse closed the remaining distance, plodding along. Then, quietly, almost as if the words themselves weighed too much, he spoke. "The king won't be back." Kendra's smile vanished. Hot tears welled in her eyes and spilled down her cheeks. "Mom," she said, her voice breaking. "I thought Dad said he was going to come back." Velv did not answer. Her hands flew to her mouth, stifling any sound that might comfort her child. Her knees buckled, and she collapsed to the cold stone ground. Tears blurred her vision, leaving her unable to see Kandra at all. Several long moments passed before she found her voice. "Come here, little one." Kandra stepped forward slowly, unsure of what she was supposed to feel. Before her father had left, she had just turned 12. Her birthday had come only days before the news arrived that the colonies were even under attack. There had been a great celebration, friends, family, food, everything she had wished for. Her father had promised they would celebrate just the same when he returned. He had sealed it with one of those funny promises he did with his small finger at the end of his hand before mounting his horse and leading his officers through the gates. Now, all the warmth she felt came from the tears still trailing down her face. "Maybe Dad just got lost," she said softly. "I'll go find him." Kandra started walking off, but the queen grabbed her daughter's hand and pulled her close. "No, love," Velv said. "Dad isn't going to be able to come back. Not this time." "Why?" Kandra asked, her eyes searching her mother's face. Velv swallowed. Hard. "Because your father is dead." A pit opened in Kandra's stomach. "Dead? Why did he have to die? He'd made a promise. Dad always kept his promises. Every time he left, he came home. Not this time, though." Kandra sank down beside her mother, uncaring for the cold stones or the fine fabric of her dress. After several minutes of shared tears, Velv gathered herself and her daughter, and together they went back into the castle. They slowly made the way up the stairs, around a corner, and up some more stairs as they made it to Kandra's room. Then she set her daughter gently on the bed. "Stay here, dear," she said. "Mommy has to go away for a few hours." "What?" Kandra protested. "Please. No, stay." She reached for her mother's hand, but Velv pulled away. "No, child. I must attend to the kingdom now that your father's gone." The words reopened the wound in Kandra's heart. Velv clapped her hands twice, and 2 servants appeared from a hidden doorway. "You two," the queen said. "Help my daughter. She's had a difficult day. See that she eats something." And without another word, she left, closing the door behind her and placing a guard outside. "Well, princess?" one maid asked gently. "What would you like to eat today?" It took Kandra a minute to respond, the lump in her throat slowly going back down. Then when she could, "I want to be left alone," she replied, her voice sharper than usual. "It's not a good time." "As you wish, my lady," the other maid said. They both bowed and departed. Kandra lay back down on her bed, staring at the ceiling. She still hadn't seen her father. It must be a game, she told herself. Her father loved games. Hide and seek through the halls of the castle, laughing when she finally found him. It was silly, childish even, but comforting. He'd been gone such a long time. Maybe he had just forgotten how old she was. Yes, that had to be it. If she found him, everything would return to normal. No more maids hovering, no whispers, no crying mother every night, just promises kept. She slipped from her bed and crossed the room to the servants' entrance, hidden behind a stone pillar. The narrow door always creaked, but after many years, Kandra had figured out a way to open it that caused the hinges to be silent. She eased it open and descended down the steep stairs, being careful not to trip down them like she had a few days prior. She did this in an effort to not alert the servants, as she wasn't exactly supposed to be back here. She wasn't even supposed to know it existed, but she did. As she looked out the windows in the cramped staircase, the sun was high overhead. It was nearly midday now. She guessed that since the time she had sent the maids off and decided to then go down the stairs, they should be far enough down that she could slowly make her way down in an effort to prevent anyone from coming back up the stairwell, or from seeing her in the stairwell. She was right. At the central servant corridor, voices drifted towards her. She nestled herself deep into the shadows, pulling her green dress close so it wouldn't give her away. Out through the narrow slice of a window she had through the door, she saw two servants pass as they went up to go tend to her parents' room. Then she slipped into the common area and hid behind a chair. "Did you hear?" one maid whispered. "The king is dead." "Dead?" another breathed. "I heard the queen finally got her wish." "Quiet," the first one hissed. "Don't say that out loud. We don't need to be spreading rumors." I know. It just seems to be that the queen's different the past couple of days. The voices faded. Kandra remained frozen. Questions crashed into her all at once. Why would her mother want her father dead? And was she wrong about this being a game? What did the maid mean when Mom was different the past couple days? Sure, she had missed Dad, but Kandra hadn't noticed anything. She seemed the same. The thoughts left as quickly as they had formed, though. She then continued to move away from her hiding spot behind the chair, taking care to not make any extra noise, just like her father had taught her to during their games of hide and seek. She crept through the door, making her way out into the foyer of the castle. Then she waited for a routine guard switch. Queen Velv, soon to be announced as the sole ruler of the Middle Kingdom, stood in her husband's study, the place where he kept all his secrets, all his books, all his knowledge about the kingdom, about the dragons, about his order of the blades. She found his way to his familiar chair. Then she just sat in it, taking it all in. He was gone. Actually gone. She didn't know how it happened. She didn't know if she wanted to know how it happened. She could barely believe it as it was. But the man was dead. The strongest gear blade in all of the kingdom, dead. Velv knew that Capra, one of her husband's most loyal friends, would never lie about his whereabouts, so she could trust this report from him. Of course, that left her with another problem: running the kingdom. Tenalis H. Drolin, her now late husband, had taken care of the kingdom all by himself since his father's death 20 years ago, keeping the nobles in line, ensuring the peasantry did what they were told, fighting off the attacks from the theocracy. He had all done that, all by himself. She had waited, smiled, waved, enjoyed luxurious meals, and loosely tended to their daughter. Now, it was her responsibility, all by herself, and one she would not take lightly. She would make every step towards achieving his dream of peace for the colonists, ensuring that they had freedom from the theocracy, from their mechanized oppression, and prosperity for the kingdom as a whole. At least, that was the plan on paper. Velv went around the room, cleaning and dusting in small sections. She hadn't been here the whole time during her husband's absence, for fear of the memories it could spark. As she continued to clean, she made mental notes of what needed to stay, what needed to go, where to move things, what things needed to be burned. It would take a few months to get it all sorted out, finished, and cleansed. But after that, it would feel more like a home again, a fresh start. That alone, however, took her most of the morning and afternoon. By the time she decided she was finished for the day, it was almost the evening meal. At this point, she felt she was in the right headspace that she could talk to Kandra again. The girl was only 12, but had the aspirations of somebody older and the imaginations of a younger girl. She didn't need her daughter getting any ideas or escaping from the castle again. Velv went looking for her daughter in her room. The door hadn't been opened at all. The guard outside informed her of that. So she casually swung the door open. "Kandra, Mom's back. Would you like to have dinner with me?" No response. She looked around the room. Perhaps she was just playing hide and seek again. She looked around, under the bed, behind the dresser, all the usual places. She even looked down the servants' stairwell, which she was sure her daughter didn't know about, but just in case she checked there. Again, nothing. Kandra was gone. Okay, thanks so much everybody for listening to that little audiobook. I know it's pretty raw, didn't get tons of fine editing, but thank you again for listening. That is, I would feel, a pretty good example of my raw writing skills, usually what stuff looks like after the second or third draft. So if you enjoyed it, let me know. If you had some suggestions, also let me know. I'm always open to constructive criticism. And, of course, I'll be doing my best to continue up with this series as well as build momentum for the book. But please like, comment, subscribe, follow wherever you found the cast if you haven't already. It really helps us out, lets us know that people are out there enjoying it, having a good time with the world, with the characters especially. That's a big thing for me with Tales of Agmar. It's just writing good, believable characters. And everyone here at Agmar HQ, we are actually kind of starting to get a small team. Maybe one day we'll do a live stream. We'll see what's happening. It's slowly building, and I'm still enjoying it, and which is all good signs for future development. But like I was saying, we all love reading the comments that we get. Also, continue to stay tuned for a whole bunch more art. We got a lot of things going, and yeah, it's going to be really great. I'm loving the artists that I'm working with. It's going to be good. So please come stick around. Enjoy your time here. And again, Discord. Come drop by the Discord if you want to chat around, make some new friends, or bring all your friends, and we'll just keep chatting about this. But yeah, well, there you have it, folks. Be a good one, and have a good rest of your day. I will see you all next week.